Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you joining us for the DeKalb Dems runoff forums. And we appreciate our candidates being here to help you learn more about them. And I'm Gloria Moore. I'm a vice chair of DeKalb Dems and also co-chair of special events with Steve Parker. And this afternoon, we have 4 runoff races that we're going to be presenting the candidates to you and giving them an opportunity to tell you more about them and their positions on specific issues. So without actually taking up too much time, because we do want you to hear from them, I do just want to say that this is being recorded and that we are also sharing it on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. So if you happen to have an opportunity to share it while it's ongoing, we would appreciate it. And we'll put those links in the chat shortly. If you have questions, we would ask you to put them in the chat. We may or may not be able to get to them depending on which one of our forums we're in. We're going to start with the School Board District 2. And we've not done any kind of forum on that particular race before. So you're meeting these candidates from our standpoint for the first time. The same thing with Commission District 2. We did not do a forum earlier on that. You will be seeing, however, later, House District 86 candidates and House District 90 candidates, which you have seen before. If you've been watching our DeKalb Dem forums. So we would like for you to hear a little bit more about DeKalb Dems before we get started, and we're going to introduce you to our 2 moderators for the afternoon, Karen and Lance, and I'm going to let John Jackson do that. John is the chair of the DeKalb Democrats. We're very proud of John. He's our superpower. And I'm going to turn the program over to him, and I will see you a little later.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria Moore, our vice chair who has led special events, along with Steve Parker, who's not with us today. And thank you to Jesse and everybody who's involved in this. DeKalb Dems is a special organization. We are what you would call a superior grass tops, a local Democratic Party organization. We are committed to voter education. As the AJC mentioned, we had the lowest down ballot drop off in the state in the 2020 cycle. That's because we educated the voters on the down ballot races. And we educate the voters on the importance of voting. And one thing Greg Bluestein mentioned in his book, Flipped, is that DeKalb Dems hired over 90 staff to do what we did in 2020 to help flip Georgia blue. We spent several $100,000s, and we're going to need your donations. So go on to DeKalbDems.com and make sure you donate. No amount's too small, no amount is too large. We need your money to make sure that Georgia goes blue at the statewide level and that we reelect Senator Raphael Warnock. So make sure that you do that. I want to thank all the candidates for being here today. The winners of these Democratic primaries become an automatic voting member of DeKalb Dems. So that's even more reason to support us as an organization. And I want to introduce the co-moderators. Second vice chair of DeKalb Dems, leads GOTV, a retired educator, Karen Davenport. She leads our world-class ground game, and she is all about educating and informing the people, bringing the people together. We have in DeKalb NAACP president and HD94 post seat holder, Lance Hammonds. And I have a great bit of respect for Lance, because Lance cares deeply about the community and about just bettering and empowering the people in the community. So with that being said, I'm going to hand the floor over to Second Vice Chair Karen Davenport.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. I'm so excited this afternoon to welcome Whitney McInnes and Candace McKinley, the two runoff candidates for the District 2 school board position. You know, the school board members hold special roles as trustees of public funds, including local, state, and federal funds, while they focus on the singular objective of ensuring each student in the local school system receives a safe and quality basic education. Ms. McKinley and Ms. McInnes, this afternoon, as you are answering the questions that we have, I want to remind you that you will have 90 seconds to make your opening statements to the first question. And then you will have 90 seconds to answer each question. And then you'll have 90 seconds to make a closing statement. So the first question that I would like to ask you is, what makes you the best candidate for the school board seat? And what differentiates you from your opponent? And let's start first with Ms. McKinley.
Thank you so much for having us. And I've never been a part of this forum, so I was just too excited to be a part of this group. And I would just like to say, I don't want to separate myself too much from my opponent, because this is a nonpartisan seat, and she's a mother too. So I always respect my colleagues, first of all. But I do want to differentiate that I do have the passion and the skills to hold the school board seat. I am a former teacher in Atlanta Public Schools. I taught for several years in APS, as we call it. Then I went on to get my teacher certification in education. Then I went on to get my law degree, focused on education policy and law. So I come with a unique blend to the seat from the role of a teacher, former teacher, actually practicing in an urban setting, then also from the lens of a lawyer. I've litigated a number of cases against school districts, unfortunately, but to protect the rights of students and teachers. And then most importantly, I am a mother with two students in the county. And I've also worked for the district as a lawyer and also in their School of Innovation. And I've also volunteered on one of our local schools governance board as the governing chair. So I come with a wealth of experience, but just for the passion for our children. And I think that this is a time that we just have to come together as a collective community, pick great leaders who are going to speak up for our young people and our families and our teachers, so that we can have the greatest district that I know that all of us are looking for. So that's a little bit about me. I'll share more, but thank you again. And that's why I think I am the best candidate for this seat.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. McInnes, can you share with us why you think you're the best choice for the school board seat and what differentiates you from Ms. McKinley?
Sure. And first, I did want to thank the DeKalb Dems for hosting this forum. And it's good to be back speaking with you all again. So as Candace mentioned, so we are both parents, we're both former educators, and we are both dedicated school advocates. But I do believe there are some qualifications that do set me apart. The first is that I believe the school board position should be full-time. We have too many challenges in our district to have school board members who are dividing their time between serving our community and earning an income. And while I do acknowledge this is a privileged position that I hold, I will not have outside employment if I am elected to school board. And this will allow me to dedicate my full attention to addressing the tough challenges and serving our students. Second, I have extensive public sector work experience and a degree in public policy. So I do understand how bureaucracies operate, and I've used this understanding to successfully advocate for our schools. I've served on executive boards. I've developed million-dollar budgets. I've ensured compliance with federal regulations, and I've evaluated programs and policies to learn what works and what doesn't. And third, I have political connections and relationships both inside and outside the district, in addition to having the support of numerous DeKalb County teachers, administrators, and officials. I've also served on my neighborhood civic association, and this has put me in contact with multiple government offices, the DeKalb County Commission, school leaders, and I believe that these are connections that I can leverage to better serve our students and our schools.
All right, thank you, thank you. Our next question is, in the last 25 years, DeKalb School District has had Johnny Brown, Carl Crawford Lewis, Cheryl Atkinson, Michael Thurman, Ramona Tyson, once as an intern, Steve Green, Rudy Crew, and these fumbling attempts that have cost the district over $750,000. And Cheryl Watson Harrison, who was fired yesterday, who we must pay out of the remainder of her contract with taxpayer dollars, now as an interim superintendent. When you are elected to the school board, what would be your actions to prevent this revolving door of superintendents, which has been a waste of public funds? We're going to start first with you, Ms. McGinnis.
Sure, thank you for that question. And I do want to start by saying that I do disagree with the decision to fire Superintendent Watson Harris. I think there were issues with the way that she was fired, but also, just as you point out, this is costly, and every time we have to orient a new superintendent, we are losing time that could be spent moving our district forward. There have been a lot of accusations about meddling by the school board, not allowing the superintendent the autonomy that he needs to do his job effectively. Looking at the tenure of Ms. Watson Harris, one of the things that she was prevented from doing was hiring a full cabinet. She had several interim positions, including the chief operating officer position, which oversees our facilities and maintenance and rebuilding and renovating of our schools. So I think, one way the superintendent can be supported is by allowing that individual to hire the professionals that they need on their cabinet to be able to do the job. I also think that, the board needs to do its due diligence in hiring a superintendent, absolutely. And I do have concerns with the reputation that the district has now. Are we going to be able to get a qualified superintendent? Who is going to want to work for DeKalb County Schools right now? But once that superintendent is hired, hopefully we can get a qualified applicant with a good skill set. They need to have that autonomy. There needs to be trust in the process that they can do the job without meddling by school board members, who are, basically ending up getting in the way of the advocacy and the innovation that we need to move forward.
Thank you. Ms. McKinley, your thoughts on that question?
Sure, and it's really having those hard conversations, right? Courageous conversations is when you are not afraid to tackle the truth. And we need to understand why we have this revolving door and bring in everyone from every upper level cabinet. Since I haven't been in working in all of those levels, we got to unpack how we got here. Once we know how we got here, then we can delve into how we can go further in a collective way. And I say that without calling anybody out, but we have a serious problem with retaliation in the district. We have a serious problem with people not being able to talk freely. And I call it the DeKalb way because I was there a little while working in the district. But we have to have these conversations so that the superintendent, the cabinets our local leaders are free to have their voice so that we can speak together to do what's right for our children. And most importantly, coming from the legal context, we have to look at the legalities of how contracts are signed and rescinded because it costs money. And we have to look at who's in these seats, from chief of staff to the former Office of Legal Affairs where I used to work, and see if these offices still need to exist or they need to come back so they can support the superintendent. So she or he will have the legal background to foster through it and kind of look through what's happening so that he or she can make sound decisions. Because the superintendent is versed and should be versed with all aspects of policies and operations. The school board should be versed as well, but we should be focused in on policies and allowing the superintendent to operate the district. Once we know where everybody is and we can collectively talk through these hard challenges, that's when we can have a superintendent who can do his or her job well.
Thank you. Thank you. On the next question, on the campaign trail, what would you say are the 2 top issues voters have identified or connected you to? And how have you incorporated those issues throughout your campaign? Let's start first with Ms. McKinley for that question.
Sure. The first one was the operational effects of our buildings. Most people have seen or heard about Druid Hills High School and they're not being able to get their modernization. Well, fortunately, we were able to get that money from the district, would be about $50,000. But I don't want to just focus on Druid Hills, but the conversation is equity. How do we ensure that all schools with operational problems are getting what they need as well? So that has been the long-standing issue in District 2. And both of my children, one has graduated from Druid Hill High School, but this has been a long problem in the district. So operationally, we have to get our schools safe, but not just focus on one. It has to be equitable. Cross Keys and Laurel Ridge has some issues with HVAC and all that back in the day. So, and secondly, what I'm hearing from teachers is autonomy. So the decisive concept bill, CRT, is what people are calling the Parents' Right Bill, all these different legislative policies that are coming from the state. Teachers are saying, like, what does that mean for me? How do I keep teaching in my classroom? What backlash am I looking at? And as a lawyer and an educator, I'm trying to get versed on how do we, make sure our parents and our teachers and our staff are versed in these new policies and what that looks like without stripping away of our autonomy of our teachers. They're professionals. They've been teaching for a long time. So we're going to have to stay up on the legislative issues that are coming down. It's going to affect our children and our teachers in the building. And of course, keep our building safe operationally so all of our students and staff can come into buildings that are well and healthy, and they are well and healthy.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. McGinnis, what is your thoughts on that question?
Sure. So I would definitely say that the top 2 concerns I've heard, one is about the deteriorating building conditions. And then the second, a lot of people have concerns about the ethics and the current conduct that we're seeing on the school board. And both of these issues I have incorporated into my campaign platform from day one, because although we've seen the recent news coverage, anyone who has been following DeKalb schools for any period of time knows that these are longstanding issues. Despite what the board might want us to think, the conditions at Druid Hills High represent not just years, but decades of neglect. Similarly, DeKalb schools nearly lost its accreditation over ethics and governance concerns and had several of its board members replaced in 2013. I've been actively advocating for both of these issues while I've been on the campaign trail. I spoke about the Druid Hills High School modernization need in March, before the student video was released. Then I attended the Druid Hills and Cross Keys student protest a month later. I have videos of that protest and exclusive student interviews on my YouTube channel. Finally, just last week, I spoke before the school board on facilities issues at a local elementary school that hasn't been in the news yet, along with the need for transparency, accountability, and an active effort to rebuild the community trust.
Thank you. Thank you. So we appreciate so much both of you joining us this afternoon. And now in summary, if you could just quickly tell us your closing statements and why the voters should vote for you. We're going to start first with Ms. McGinnis.
Sure. Well, again, I just want to thank DeKalb Dems for hosting this forum. I am a mother. I have a rising 7th grader at Druid Hills Middle. I've served on multiple PTA committees, led several successful school advocacy efforts. I'm currently on the Principals Advisory Council, and as I mentioned, as I've been on the campaign trail, I am pressing for action on facilities concerns at Druid Hills, Cross Keys, and other schools across the district. I'm an experienced government and nonprofit professional. Currently, I work as a grants manager. I'm also vice president of my neighborhood civic association. I have a master of public policy from Georgia State, and I taught science and English as a Peace Corps volunteer in Kenya. I'm also a proud progressive and a member of DeKalb Dems. I participated in multiple Get Out the Vote efforts, including for the Abrams, Ossoff, and Warnock campaigns. I've also spoken about voting rights and provided witness testimony for Fair Fight after my absentee ballot was challenged in 2018. I'm running for school board because I believe that a strong public school system is vital to the health of our economy and our democracy. And that is why I'm asking you to vote Whitney McGinnis on June the 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. McKinley, your closing statement, please.
Yes, thank you all and everyone who chimed in on a Saturday afternoon. So I want to start and end with make sure that you, your sister, cousin, brother are all ready to come out for the runoff on next Tuesday, June 21st, not this one, next one. And with that, this seat is so special and so dear to my heart because I'm first generation college and I understand the power of education and having my children go to school in the county. I know what it feels like when you don't feel like your child has access to a quality education and have to move across, county line, not lines, but across the county to find what your children need. So I'm running not just for my kids, but for all kids so that they can have access to a quality education wherever neighborhood they stay in, and that we are working collectively as a community so that our student voices are heard, our teachers' voices are heard, and our administration is working for the betterment of our students. And our board is working effectively. We have too much divisiveness that we can't continue to see. So with that said, please visit my website, Candace for DeKalb. You can also DM me, as my child says, on IG and talk to me there. I'm accessible and I'm just here to serve and help and know that the skills that I bring to the board are of that of a legal advocate, as a mom and a former teacher who doesn't shy away from the fact that I am a working mom and can serve in this capacity on this seat as well. Thank you all again. Remember, June 21st for the runoff.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Ms. McGinnis and Ms. McKinley. We appreciate both of you offering your service to serve in this position. Just as another reminder, early voting will start on Monday, June 13th, and the primary election runoff will be on June 21st. As you will notice, this will be the only forum that we are having this evening in relation to the school board, because there is a runoff election in District 6, but there is only one Democrat that is on the ballot at that time. Mr. DaCosta is the only Democrat that is running in the runoff. Okay, now we're going to move on to have the forum in relation to the District 2 commission seats. And we want to welcome Lauren Alexander and Michelle Long Spears. They are the two candidates that are running for the District 2 commission seat. I would like to remind them that this particular job that they are running for is the DeKalb County Commissioner. And the commissioners are charged with the responsibility of providing a system of local government services designed to protect the health, safety, and welfare of their citizens. I want to remind Ms. Alexander and Ms. Spears that you'll have 90 seconds to make an opening statement, and then you'll have 90 seconds to answer each question, and then you'll have 90 seconds to make a closing statement. And we're going to start first with Ms. Spears. If she could make her opening statement first, Ms. Spears.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. First of all, I appreciate you all pulling together this forum tonight for all of us to tell you a little bit about us and why we're running for DeKalb for whatever seat we're running. I am running for DeKalb Commission District 2, and I'm very excited that everything has been going very well in our campaign. We've received a great deal of support. And as recent as today, we've been knocking on doors, making phone calls, and placing signs, all just, running our sprint to the June 21st runoff coming up in a week and a half. A little bit about me. I've been in DeKalb County since 2008. I love this community. I think we are blessed to have so many wonderful assets and resources in District 2, as well as throughout DeKalb and the greater Metro Atlanta region. I have an education that I got, some of it actually earned here in Atlanta. I have 2 master's degrees. My first is a master in business administration with a focus in marketing. My second is a master of public policy with a focus in sustainability. And I actually met Miss McGinnis at GSU during our program together. The areas that I'm very focused on and have been since the beginning of the campaign is a commitment to protecting and preserving our amazing neighborhoods, ensuring quality county services and resilient infrastructure, being accessible and available to residents, fighting for housing access, options, and responsible sustainable growth, preserving our neighborhoods, trails, green spaces, and conservation areas, and supporting and collaborating with local schools. I will bring a fresh perspective, a collaborative leadership, and an innovative spirit to the next generation of DeKalb County's Board of Commissioners. I am a proud graduate of Leadership DeKalb. I am a former member of the reconstituted DeKalb Ethics Board. I am a member of the Atlanta Regional Commission's Leadership Regional Institute, and also completed a program with the United Kingdom School of Systems Change, and have been engaged in systems change efforts in various issue areas for several years now. So I hope to earn your vote in the runoff on June 21st. And again, thank you so much for having us here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Ms. Alexander, can you respond to that question? Why do you think you're the best choice for this commission seat?
So just point of clarification, you want my best, do I do my intro or?
You
I just did my intro. So.
Right, just go ahead and do your intro. Sorry for the confusion. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and this process has been quite an interesting one. And I actually think that everybody should take a lesson in civics to really understand how the voting process works, and so we can all stay informed. I'm Lauren Alexander. I've been a longtime citizen of the city of Decatur. I've raised my daughters here. They both graduated from Decatur High. I currently work as a senior project manager for the CDC. And in the last couple of years, I was tapped to work on the COVID task force to help the government codify their response to the pandemic. And what that experience gave me very uniquely is an opportunity to work with 3 levels of government concurrently, which at the time certainly seemed taxing, but seems, a skill set and uniquely qualified for being able to serve DeKalb County as the next commissioner for District 2. And so, why am I running? I am really running to make sure that I'm a voice for everybody. I'm the voice for the people at the table. I'm the voice for the people in the margin and folks just trying to get to Friday. People want to make sure that whether they're able to attend something or they are hoping that their needs are being met by people who truly, truly understand that folks mostly want to have the things in their lives with their biggest asset be taken care of, being nurtured, being supportive. And so what does that look like? That looks like that we are focusing in on infrastructure, focusing in on affordable housing, focusing in on ethics and transparency, and focusing on making sure that the neighborhoods are solid, solid and functioning well. I hope that you consider giving me your vote. It's going to be a sprint to the finish line. I'm excited. If you have any questions for us, please find us on social media. You can all call me. My information is accessible, and I look forward to continuing this process.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So now we will go to this next question, which I think we sort of combined a little bit anyway. Tell us why you think that you would be the best choice for this commission seat as you compare your skill set with the person you're running against in this runoff. Do you want to start first, Ms. Spears?
Absolutely. So I bring love, vision, and a strong work ethic to this role. And my work life, my consulting practice is called NP Voice. Been running that for many years now. Is that I work on the ground with frontline groups, with community groups, nonprofits, neighborhood associations, and socially responsible businesses, and solving some of our community's biggest challenges like housing, poverty, homelessness. I've spent my life truly since the beginning when I worked at the YMCA, and even further back than that, I was a latchkey kid with the YMCA. We grew up in a poor family in several states around the American South. But I think that's one of the reasons I've had such a heart for service is that I didn't grow up in a neighborhood. I didn't grow up with a sense of community around me. And that really has brought me to where I'm at today with helping others and leading this nonprofit and social impact work that's focused on these critical quality of life issue areas so that we can all prosper. We can all be proud of the community that we live in and bring up our family and children's here and have a safe park to walk to and streets that aren't falling apart. And so in a nutshell, my work has really evolved around bringing people together and addressing these community systemic challenges, agreeing on a common vision, going and finding the resources that we need to realize that vision, and then implementing those solutions. And then at the end of that, evaluating what worked, what didn't work, a little bit of wash and repeat, and then move on to another challenge, just making sure that we do what we can so that everyone can have a safe community, a beloved community to live in. I also bring a technical expertise and education that translate well for this role. So as I previously stated in my opening, I have an MBA and a Master of Public Policy. So I'm very comfortable with reading contracts. I'm comfortable with dealing with large sums of money from the federal government down to the local government. I'm comfortable pouring through legal and technical documents with all the legalese that sometimes can be scary. I'm comfortable with dealing with large budgets and lots of numbers that sometimes feel scary. Thirdly, I'm also experienced working in collaboration with others. I am skilled at bringing people to the table that are impacted by the challenges so that they have a voice, those that are actually having to deal with the decisions that are being made, bringing experts to the table to help us land on that solution. What's the right solution? Bring us the data so that we're data informed, bring us best practices, different case scenarios from other parts of the country or even other parts of the world. and then working with all of these folks collectively together around implementation. And lastly, I believe over the last week and a half, I have shown all of you that I can fight. I had to fight for my name on the ballot. I had to fight for integrity in elections. I had to fight for our vote to count. So these are what I feel like I bring to the table and why I'm working very hard to be your next District 2 Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Spears. And Ms. Alexander, your thoughts on what makes you the best choice for the commission seat?
Sure. So I'd probably say that in general, in life for me, I kind of have a trifecta, the things that really kind of shape me, right? And so first and foremost are my children. I think that I would, and I hope, well, the jury's still out, they're still being raised, but that I can be an example of how you should live in a community, love your community, work for your community, and give to your community. You also need to work hard. You also need to be able to have a vocation and live in a space where the things that you're doing are going to be impactful. You may not always understand them initially, but they're going to come through. And finally, I think that it's important for us to be able to link in strategically with our government, with our family, with our communities in a meaningful way. So what does this mean? I am well suited for this job because I have a vast background in business development. I've managed multi-million-dollar contracts on behalf of the federal government as my full-time job. I'm a small business owner, okay, and my company, which we're so very proud of, is a small Black-owned company where we are dedicated to providing healthy and delicious food by using environmentally friendly indoor farming technologies. And most recently, as I mentioned before, working for the CDC, I've had the opportunity to serve my country as a senior project manager to work on the COVID task force. And I was tapped to serve, not because I have an extensive background in healthcare, but I was tapped because of my strong strategic skills and my governmental operational skills. And so really, the thing is, my everyday life of where I go to work every day, really required me to pay attention, required me to deal with large sums of money and make sure that I was making the best decisions for the people I was serving. And so it's with that, I feel very confident that I will be able to take these skills and bring them into the commission fairly seamlessly.
Okay, thank you. We have a bit more time. I was wondering if we could ask another question. As you know, the DeKalb Commission has a strategic plan that is in place. I was wondering if you could share what you think would be the best way when you are elected as a commissioner to connect the community with all of the plans that are in the strategic plan and get input and help people understand the significance of the things that the commission is planning for our county. We start first with Ms. Alexander.
Okay, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I only heard some of it kind of cut out.
Right. The County of DeKalb has a long-range strategic plan that they have been working on. And I was wondering, if you are elected as a commissioner, what do you think would be the strategic way to help the community learn more about this plan and understand what is in store and get their input on this strategic plan?
Got you. Thank you. Okay. So, on the campaign trail, what I heard a lot of was the fact that people just didn't know. And so what seemed, they would be questioning things, and I'd say, well, have you looked? Have you chatted with your county commissioner? And they'd say, well, no, I hadn't. I didn't know. So I'd actually say that I think that it's really, really critical, one, to on the District 2 specifically website, is to provide information and make it so that it's not so convoluted, make sure that it's easily accessible, and also where need be, make sure that we have multiple languages so that everybody can be a part of the conversation. I then from there would continue and actually advocate for us, even if we start moving back into having in-person meetings. I think it's very important for us to have town halls and have informational sessions for the community to be involved. With that said, I think we need to be really, really mindful that everybody may not be able to attend. And so we need to continue some form of a virtual a virtual option for folks to participate. You know, my ability to get to something may possibly hinder my knowledge base of what's happening right here in my own community. And I think it's critical for us to provide as many resources, avenues, opportunity to be as connected as we can to the people who we're serving. We serve at the will of the people. They should have the information.
Thank you. Ms. Spears, your thought on that question?
Thank you very much. So one thing I have noticed on the campaign trail, and as I've been doing my homework, preparing for forums, preparing for meetings around specific issue areas, is that DeKalb County has a lot of plans. There is the unified plan that the county is working on right now. There is a transit plan. There's a PDK master plan, and there are many other plans. So one thing I would vision as the next District 2 commissioner is trying to figure out a way to bring all of these planning processes together, because they're all happening, which is wonderful, but they're all happening in their own groups within their own silos. The second thing I think that I would really love to see is I would love to see the planning process be even more open and accessible to people that live within our communities. The third thing, and very critical to me, is that while the county is doing all of their planning, there's a lot of overlap with the municipalities that are in DeKalb County. So we have 12 cities plus Atlanta. And then, as everyone knows, we're looking at potentially a couple of other cities that may end up, next year in the process through their cityhood. And so again, figuring out a way to bring the cities together with the county as we overlap in discussions around these plannings. For example, such as transit is a good one. And then I think above all is that while we do a good job with planning, it's the implementation and the execution collectively, collaboratively, together with thought and precision is, I think that's what's critical. And that's what we really need to focus on. You can come up with the greatest plan in the world. You can bring everybody to comment on that plan. But if you don't actually execute on that plan, or you shelf the plan, it doesn't do anybody any good. And then lastly, I just think that we need to just do a better job communicating what our recommendations are coming out of these plans. And so as we're moving through the implementation process, if we have a recommendation that isn't really working so well, then we can just stand in that truth, just own that, and then know that we have an opportunity to pivot or do something different. And I'm seeing the 2 minutes. So thank you very much for that, Gloria. Thank you.
Thank you both. All right, we have a few minutes left. And what I'd like for you to do now is just briefly tell this audience why you think that they should vote for you, why voting for you would be the best decision for our county. Let's start first with you, Ms. Spears.
All righty. Thank you very much. So yes, I am running to be your next District 2 commissioner. The runoff is June 21st, and I hope to earn your vote. I think I will be the best commissioner because, one, I have the expertise that is needed for this job. I have been doing this type of work on the ground for over 20 years. As a good commissioner, as I've observed from our good commissioners, is that they have an open mind. They are accessible to people. They are thinking about what needs to happen in DeKalb County so that we can realize a better future for all of us. I bring also the technical expertise that I talked to about earlier, is about some of the stuff that the commissioners do. It's really hard work, guys. I mean, it's looking through a lot of these, big budgets, huge, 30, 50, even 100-page documents, is really someone that has got the desire, one, to even sit down and just pore over all of that, but also has the willingness to, go through it in detail, have the ability to ask questions. I don't understand what Section 3A, subsection A4 means. Explain what that means to me, or to what that means to you, so I can understand it. I also think that we have to be willing to bring people together and do it better than we're currently doing it. And don't just do it during Monday through Friday. Make sure that we've got opportunities for voices to be heard on the weekends, in the evenings. I also bring just a true love for DeKalb County. The campaign trail, I always tell people, it's very exploratory. If you're a lifelong learner like myself, I have absolutely loved learning about what is important to residents, what is important to business owners. What is it they think is magical about DeKalb County? And what is it about DeKalb that's not so magical? And I have the ability to take all of that stuff and all of that information and start kind of plucking what this means, and pluck this little piece of data. Maybe go out and grab this expert to come in, but to take all of this information, distill it down, and then come out with something that translate, whether it's a plan, whether it's a vision, whether it's a new initiative, whatever that might be. But that is really what I think I can bring. I bring love for this community, technical expertise, a collaborative spirit, and I bring a love of community. And also I bring this lens, this systems change lens, that we created a lot of these challenges ourselves. And if we work together, and sometimes we have to dismantle that system and rebuild it, I bring that to the table, the ability for that long term to really play that long game, so that we realize the DeKalb County we want to realize for our children and for our grandchildren. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Ms. Alexander, would you share with us why you think the citizens should vote for you for this position?
Absolutely. So, I'd probably say Michelle and I both have worked a long time and touched lots of different agencies. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits. I've done it volunteer. I've done it as a consultant. I've worked for large federal organizations, having to budget, manage, reappropriate millions and millions of dollars. So the technical skills are there. But most importantly, diversity of thought, the fact that I think that I bring a unique set of experiences that allow me to have empathy for everybody in District 2 will make a difference. And so what I've heard mostly on the campaign trail is that everybody, whether you are financially set or folks who are really just trying to make ends meet, really mostly just want to be heard. They want to be understood, and they want to make sure and feel confident that the people who are leading them, who are guiding them, are making the decisions, are doing it with them in mind, and understanding that where they may not have similar experiences, they have the empathy, they have the life experiences to make a difference, because they understand that everybody, in fact, is not the same. Everybody does not always have the luxury of going to the park when they want to, but they do want to make sure that they have the sidewalks and the walkability of communities and schools that work for them, and governments that work for them. Governments that don't have any ethics issues, that have transparency, that think of them in terms of the fact that maybe English is not my first language. And so someone's thought of me enough to make sure that I can be a part of the conversation, because there is some accessibility on the website, collateral that comes out, information. The plan is in Spanish. The plan is possibly in Mandarin. This is what people want. People really just want the same thing. They want to be heard and recognized. And so temperamentally, I am the person for that. I understand that. I'm a woman of color. I'd be the very first African-American to ever represent the district. That's pretty shocking, given the fact that DeKalb County is more than 50% brown or Black. I think a difference in how you think about the community in which you're serving, that you want to serve everybody. Thank you so much. I'd love to have your vote. Please tap me on Instagram or Facebook. You can call me. Let's talk. Thank you so much.
I want to thank Lauren Alexander and Michelle Longspear so much for joining us this afternoon in this forum. We so appreciate both of you presenting yourself for service in running for the office of Commissioner for District 2 for DeKalb County. Let me remind our audience again that the primary election runoff is on June the 21st, and early voting starts this Monday, June 13th. And now I'm going to hand this over to Lance Hammonds.
Before you hand it over to Lance, I would like to just simply thank our candidates who have been here this afternoon with us for both the school board and for Commission District 2. And thank you also to Karen Davenport for being here to moderate the first two forums. So we are going to move on to the next forum with Lance Hammond being our esteemed moderator. And we appreciate Lance taking on the chore of doing the moderating for the House District runoffs. We have two of those, House District 86 and House District 90. And Lance is going to introduce those candidates, and we'll move on from there, and I'll see you after. Lance?
Thank you, Gloria. And this is definitely not a chore. This is positively, absolutely a pleasure to have the opportunity to moderate this section of the forum. And we're going to start with House District 86. We have two candidates, Jacqueline Adams and Amani Barnes. They are running for House District 86 representative. And just some ground rules, ladies. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to make their opening statements. Then I'll come back to you with questions. You have 90 seconds to answer each question. And each of you will have 90 seconds for your closing statement. Before we get to your opening statement, I just want to describe what this job is that you guys are running for. As a state representative, you're going to be part of the Georgia government, which, like the federal government, has three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. And once you're elected to state representative, your primary duties are to create and vote on bills that make new laws or modify and update the old ones. So you have quite a task ahead of you when you are elected. So let's start now with the opening statements. And Jacqueline, if you are there, I will start with you. Jacqueline?
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Thank you so much, DeKalb Democratic Party, for having me. So who am I? I am Jacqueline Adams, a native-born Georgian, a mother of 6 children, and a grandmother of 11. All of my children attended public schools in DeKalb County. I'm also a concerned citizen and community activist who's focused on the day-by-day happenings that are taking place in DeKalb County, as well as in the state of Georgia. Some of the things I've already been aggressively attacking is mental health for both the young and old. And as for the children, I helped to establish a program called Drill Mentoring in order to help steer our children in the right direction and hopefully minimize the school to prison pipeline. I've also worked towards improving the lives of our senior citizens and veterans of armed forces. As your next state representative for House District 86, I will be able to continue to aggressively focus on these issues and bring integrity, transparency, and accountability to this office. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Now we'll hear from Ms. Barnes.
Thank you, DeKalb Dems, for holding this, and thank you for having me today. My name is Imani Barnes. I am a mother, a hardworking mother. I am a biomedical research scientist. I am a committed learner, which leads me into being a PhD candidate in public health. I am most qualified to be our state representative for House District 86 because I am someone just like the people here in DeKalb County and House District 86. I grew up here. I was raised here. I'm a product of our public school system here. And I also own a youth development business here where we inspire and develop our teenagers and our middle and high school students in lifelong learning lessons. I am someone that understands the needs of the citizens in this district. I have been in the community where I have spoken with the citizens of the district, and it gives me more insight on how to address issues with the citizens in this district. My key areas that I really want to focus on is to see improvement with our healthcare system, healthcare expansion, educating our community on how to use the healthcare system. I want to see funding for our educational system, for our public school system, and more raises to our teachers because we saw how detrimental they were. We need them in our schools. And I want to fight for housing affordability and voting rights for our community. I appreciate you having me here today. You will learn more about my platform, which offers more of the majority. It offers more for the majority of our citizens here in DeKalb, because I have grown up here and I represent our citizens here. I thank you, and I look forward to answering more of your questions.
Thank you, Imani. Now let's get to some questions here. Here we go here. First question, what makes you the best choice for House District 86 State Representative? What differentiates you from your opponent? Imani, we're going to start with you on this question. Imani, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I was taking it off mute.
Okay.
What makes me the best choice for House District 86 for our community, for our next state representative? Like I said, I grew up here in DeKalb County. I have the educational background to delve into our policy and understand our policy with my ability to look through data and proven methods that have improved other communities. How do we bring those methods to our community? I am a hardworking single parent. I understand what it's like to balance and juggle different things while also trying to improve your education and advancing your education to move forward in the community. I understand what it's like to work a job and still struggle to pay your bills and afford simple things in life. So I believe that's what makes me the best candidate, trying to get ahead in old politics. We need new faces, new ideas. The things that politicians have done in DeKalb County, not all politicians, but the things that we have already worked on obviously need more change and a new light. So that's what I'm here for. I'm here to listen to the concerns of the community. Being a public health candidate and a PhD public health candidate gives me an expertise in mitigating these public health issues and mitigating some issues with our education. And it gives me a better outlook on making solutions to these issues. So I have specific issues and solutions, and I would like to apply them when I'm our next state candidate.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barnes. Mrs. Adams, the question to you is, what makes you the best choice for HD 86 State Representative, and what differentiates you from your opponent?
So I think about DeKalb, and I want to pray for the families that was affected by that shooting at Fletcher's Restaurant in South DeKalb Mall last night. Safety is very important to me. So I have lived, worked, served, and voted in the district for more than 31 years. I know the office I seek, the role I play, and the people I will represent, the people of House District 86. No, I am a uniter, not a divider. I'm about action, not words on a website. You see me in the community and not just on social media. We will work together to bring affordable and effective health care, safer schools and streets, real support for our children, families, and seniors, not just 86, but all of Georgia. We must move beyond agendas and egos and look to solve the root causes of the disparities we see every day. And as your state representative, I promise to listen to you because your opinion is important to me. And I want to serve the people of District 86 and all of Georgia. I want to introduce bills and resolutions, offer amendments, and serve on committees. My endorsement continues with Governor Roy Barnes, Gregory B. Levitt, DeKalb County CEO, Michael Thurman. And Mike hardly ever endorses anyone. He knows me and knows how I work hard for the community. So when you go to the polls, just remember the name, Adams, Jacqueline Adams, State Representative, District 86. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Adams. We're going to come right back at you with the next question. On the campaign trail, what are the top 2 issues that voters have identified to you, and how have you incorporated those issues into your campaign?
So thank you for asking. First of all, my priorities is youth and seniors, along with better education and healthcare affordability. I also plan to work closely with economic development. I also want to pay close attention to landlords with price gouging. And that's what I had a meet and greet today, and that's what they were talking about today. The landlords are price gouging, taking these prices up. I think it's like $1,700 now. And I know it's probably countywide, but they're taking up this, and we want to minimize all of this stuff that they're doing to our people, to our community. I want to listen, and I want to serve the community and commit to ensuring that the neighbors have an advocate for the community. I would like to continue with the community relationship I have built and bring more improvement to ensure a better community for our children and seniors, along with having a better healthcare center. I have an open ear to my neighbors and other communities. I want to listen to their concerns and fight to make things convenient and conducive for the community. I want to work with them, and I want to work with legislation, and if I need to, against legislation to better the community. I want to be proactive in addressing issues in the House and committees. And this is what I am. I'm about work. I want to eradicate issues so we can enjoy our community.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. Ms. Barnes, this same question to you. On the campaign trail, what are the top 2 issues voters have identified to you, and how have you incorporated those issues into your campaign?
Thank you. On the campaign trail, I have been incredibly honored to meet thousands of citizens and hardworking families and small business owners and our youth, which all have different issues. But the most common issue that I've heard recently is voting rights here in our state, and also our educational system, and how our kids are affected by our educational system. Now, there are many more issues, and there are issues that I have key issues as well, but those are the most common issues that I've heard recently. I've been in the community, and not just on social media, but the way of the world now, social media is a huge platform to reach our youth, to reach our seniors, to reach all different demographics. So yes, I use social media. I'm on the ground. I have teams on the ground. I'm in the community. And I also have a youth development business. Once I can become anything, it's what it's called, where I'm actually working with our youth to hear our youth issues. So what are our children complaining about right now? And how do we mitigate their issues? Because they're the next generation up. I have a platform for both of these issues. I have a platform for voting rights. And I also have a platform for our education and on how we increase our pay for our teachers so they can improve the quality of life for our children. The best pipeline to improving our community is getting our children through school successfully and leading them into a great path. So I thank you for that question, and I'll be ready to answer your next question.
Okay, since you're ready, I'm going to throw this first one right back at you here. You ready? All right, since you're ready. Okay, if you are elected, what's the first action you'll take when you win the office? What's the first thing you're going to do?
Well, when I'm elected to be our next state representative for House District 86, one of the first actions I would take is immediately identifying the best resources and processes to implement my platform on housing affordability and improving our education system. So I would go try to find the best resources, meaning people or connections or networking. I would see where I can best build support amongst my colleagues that addresses these issues and enforces affordability regulations that already exist. So we already have housing affordability regulations, but we need to make sure they're enforced so we can improve the quality of life for these citizens in DeKalb, where taxes are rising, new developments are being developed without community involvement and without affordable housing options, which is making it's hard for our seniors, it's hard for our youth to grow here, and it's hard for the people who already have homes to keep homes. So I would go find resources, talk to politicians, and let's begin to mitigate some of these issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Adams, what's the first thing you're going to do when you get in office?
So the first thing I would do is reunite this party. We must support our own candidates and work together for our common goal. Our own house must be in order before we govern others. Next, we get back into the community, not just leaving doors knockers behind, but engaging in real conversations. People want to feel valued and heard, and I want to listen and learn. That's it.
Listen and learn. Very good. Very good. Okay. Next question. We've kind of asked a couple of questions. You guys, ladies, have given really great answers. But what I really want to know is, and when the folks go into the ballot, to the voting booth, and they look at the ballot, give them that one reason, make it clear why they should vote for you. Give them that one reason. Ms. Adams.
Okay, why? Because I listen. I think about DeKalb County first. I live, I work, I serve. I voted in DeKalb County for 31 years. I know the office that I'm seeking. I know the role that I'll be playing. I know what I will be representing. I will be representing the people of District 86. And I'm gonna unite, not divide, unite, because anybody knows in their household, if there's a husband or wife, a husband, if in order to get somewhere, you're gonna have to work together. So I'm not going in to divide. I wanna go in to unite so we can make things happen. And that's who I am. And
Okay.
I ask for your vote. May I have your vote?
Okay.
District 86.
Okay. Ms. Barnes, this is your opportunity to be totally clear with the voters. Why should they vote for you?
The voters should vote for Imani Barnes to be our next state representative because I am one of the voters. I am one of you. I am us. I represent many different demographics. I am a parent. I am an African-American woman. I am part of the LGBTQ plus community. I am a product of the education system here in DeKalb County. And I still work here in DeKalb County, where I'm a research scientist at Emory University, where I've been for 14 years. So I understand the community. I have worked in the community, and I will continue to work hard to improve the quality of life here in our community. I have been endorsed by many different demographics of PACs, people, and that just shows how I represent the different groups. So I've been endorsed by older adults in the Necessary Troublers, whom many are retired and are willing to help me out when I'm at work. It's not just about it's about community. So I have seniors who support me. The Necessary Troublers are my foundation. They have gotten me thus far. I have Georgia Equality, who represents the LGBTQ plus group and family. I have the Georgia Teachers Federation, which represents education, and I represent PACs. The collective PAC has endorsed me, which represents Black politicians. And so I just gave you an array of endorsements of the many grassroots PACs that support this grassroots campaign. And I've made it this far from the community, from knocking on doors, from being on social media, from speaking with the citizens, and from being at events. And so after I win, and when I win as your next state representative, I will continue to do the same thing. We will still be in the community. You will still be able to access me, and I will still answer your calls when you reach out. So Imani Barnes for House District 86, I appreciate you for having this forum, and everybody follow me on social media, please, at Imani Barnes, everything.
Okay, well, we're not done with you guys yet, so you're going to still have a time for your closing statements. So
Oh, okay.
Just hang on, just hang on. We're not done yet.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, Gloria, do we have any questions in the chat? I've got a couple more here, but if not, I'll just continue.
I don't see any in the chat yet, but go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to ask a selfish question since I just finally got a chance to become a senior. And both of you guys have talked about issues that you've gotten from seniors. When you go to the Lou Walker Center, whatever the senior citizen facility is in your area, and I guess we've got a brand new one that's coming up off of Harrison that Commissioner Bradshaw is working on. What do you say to seniors as far as how are you going to improve the quality of our lives in District 86?
It's for me.
I think this one goes to Mrs. Adams, but you get a chance to ask her right if she does. Mrs. Adams?
So I love the seniors. My mom is 86 years old. I love that lady so much. Do everything I can because I think they have already laid the foundation. They sent us to school. They paid for our books. And I think they deserve so much. So whatever they want, I think they should have it. And so I would listen to whatever they want because you don't know what they want unless you sit down and talk to them. I want to talk to the Lou Walker people. I want to talk to the people there up there on Candler Road. I want to talk to the people in the Mason building. I want to talk to all the senior citizens to see exactly what they actually want. And I'll try my best to make it right for them because we owe them. We owe seniors. I owe you, Mr. Lance.
All right. Imani, let me hear what you got to say about that question. What are you going to say to the seniors in HD 86?
I tell the seniors that I work for you as well. I work for everyone. And so it's about listening to what the seniors need and what the seniors ask for. Building more ranch style homes or apartment communities for them to enjoy life without worrying about crime, gated communities, about travel, being in the community and understand what they need. Higher taxes is not what seniors need on a fixed income. And so understanding that and talking to the community about what they can afford and what really affects them. So being in tune with the seniors, just as we're in tune with the youth, you have to understand what they need by actually talking to the seniors. So as you said, the new developments are popping up, which is necessary for seniors to stay in their community, for us to have generational wealth, for us to have generational homes where their grandkids and their grandkids' can still grow up. So that is important in understanding what needs to happen financially and with infrastructure development to make that happen is what I would fight for down at the Capitol. And so just understanding what our seniors need just as well as everyone else in our community is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, here's a question. Now, since HD 86 has a lot of unincorporated DeKalb County in it, what are your views on the cityhood effort for unincorporated DeKalb? And we will start with you, Mrs. Barnes.
The cityhood efforts in unincorporated DeKalb, we have to understand how it would affect everyone. So by understanding how the footprint affects not just us here, or not us, but understanding how the footprint affects the citizens who want to form cityhood, but also understanding how it affects those outside of that footprint. So how does it affect Northern DeKalb? How does it affect the immigrant community in DeKalb? And so understanding that and considering that when in trying to form cityhood is of the utmost importance. Now, if it is detrimental to the citizens, if it doesn't benefit everyone and not just those in the city of DeKalb, then I feel like it has to be looked at more, or has to put more thought into it. The charter has to be redeveloped. It was written, I believe, in 2014. It is now 2022. Life has changed. We have gone through a pandemic, finances, the economy has changed. And so redeveloping that, and also looking at how it affects community, bringing a committee together would be a great idea. A committee that focuses on cityhood and cityhood only, and how it affects those outside of the city, and a committee that involves a community committee, and also expert committee that can come together and put their heads together and try to think about how it affects everyone. So I do not support cityhood right now, but looking into it to see if there can be improvements on the whole process is how I feel. We have to improve the process before we try to enforce cityhood.
Okay. Mrs. Adams, your thought on the cityhood movement in unincorporated DeKalb?
Well, just like everything, I'll listen to anybody that want to do anything. And as it comes to cityhood, I believe in our democracy. And I feel that citizens should have the right to vote for whatever they want. And as a legislator, I would not block anybody of their rights. That's what I have to say.
Okay, well, thank you.
And
Here's another question, and I'm a big education wonk, and so and a lot of the legislation that affects education will come from the State House. What are your positions? And we'll start with you, Mrs. Adams. What is your position on school vouchers and school privatization? Are you for it or are you against it?
school vouchers for what? Vouchers for school. I'm trying to understand your question.
Choice. What is your position on school choice?
School choice.
Let me ask it this way. What is your position on the privatization of our public schools?
My position on, I believe in public schools.
Okay.
All of my kids went to public schools. I believe, and I think I saw a question in the chat saying, let me read that. Can I go over that for
Sure.
Miss Adams? Funds from American Federation of Children Action Funds. Okay, I'm so glad we are discussing this so you can ask me. And like anything else, please ask me before you come out and try to say something. Please do that, please. So we want to address this mailer that they were sent out about the Children's Action. I think it's a Children Action Fund. I don't know, but these people actually took my information off. I had no idea, and they just put a mailer out. I didn't know this. So my children went to public schools. I believe in public schools. That's what I believe.
Thank you for your answer, Mrs. Adams.
I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. Amani, your thoughts on school choice and school privatization?
So as I stated before, I am too a product of the DeKalb County school system. There are more issues going on with our school system that we have to focus on. And I have a son who is currently in the DeKalb County school system. So the freedom to go to schools, to a public school system, the freedom for him to gain a quality education, just as I gained a quality education, is important to me. And as I also stated earlier, it is expensive to live. It's expensive to live right now. So it is important for us to put our funds and for representatives to fight for funding for our public schools, improving our public schools, improving the infrastructure, improving the teacher comfortability. When I say that, I say the teachers are not are not also soldiers, or our teachers are not supposed to be security guards in the classroom as well. So how do we improve that in our public schools? We have to have more funding to understand how to improve that. We have to have funding to pay the teachers in the public school system to be allowed to do their job. And then we supplement the extra things that we've had them doing in the past few years. I just marched for our lives downtown today before this forum, and there were many teachers out there fighting for their education system. And so just as they were down there, just as I was marching for our lives, I will continue to fight for our public school system, the improvement of our public school system, and funding for our public school system, because the best thing we can do is provide our children a quality education. Privatizing that will be detrimental for our community. So as our next state representative, I would fight for funding for our public school system.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now it's time for your closing statements. So I'm going to start with Imani. You have 90 seconds to give us your closing statement, please.
Thank you again. Vote Imani as your next state representative for House District 86. I have lived in this community. I will continue to fight for this community. I understand the issues because I am a citizen. I am just like you. I am a voter, and I understand how important it is for us to bring different ideas to this legislature, different ideas to the state house, and different methods on how to address these issues that we're having here in DeKalb County. We need to improve our housing affordability. So parents, not just single parents, all different kind of parents, guardians, and people who take care of their grandchildren, anybody, we need to improve funding. And so we can improve our quality of life here in DeKalb County, not just everyone else, but I want to improve my quality of life as well, so my son can continue to grow up here. I am your chosen candidate for House District 86 because I will not only work for our seniors, I will work for our Republicans, I will work for everybody in this district, because we're not all the same. We don't all believe in the same thing. And so understanding the people who don't support you is just as important as understanding the people that do support you. And so I will work for everybody in that manner, and bringing my expertise in public health, understanding how to mitigate these issues with data and evidence-based science, not just science, but evidence-based solutions, is how we should begin to answer questions and issues and fight for funding to improve this community. So that is why you should vote for Imani Barnes as your next state representative. I'm ready to get to work. Thank you. And please follow all my socials in the chat.
Okay. Thank you, Imani. Mrs. Barnes, Mrs. Adams, your closing statement.
So just know, all candidates, just know that after the election, we still have to live. So why is Jacqueline Adams running for House District 86? So I ran for this office in 2014. I am consistent in serving House District 86. I didn't run to one office and then try to go to another. I've served the community by being committed to ensuring that my neighbors have an advocate for the community. I would like to continue with the community relationships I have built and will bring more improvement to ensure a better community for our children and seniors, along with having a better healthcare system. I have an open ear to my neighbors and our communities. I want to listen to their concerns and fight to make things convenient and conducive for the community. I want to work with them, and if I have to, against legislators for a better community. I want to be proactive in addressing issues in the House and committees. So what do? I'm a CEO of Restoration in Christ International Ministries, which is in Georgia, Philippines, Africa, Pakistan, and India. I'm a small business owner of over 40 years, and I mentor youth in our company called DRILL. It's called Discipline, Respect, Responsibility, Leadership, and Love for the ages 12 to 18. When I'm elected, my priorities is youth and seniors, along with better education and healthcare affordability. I also plan to work closely with economic development. And voters should choose me because as I committed to being a mom to my 6 children, I've taken a sabbatical from my career to properly raise them while my husband worked tirelessly to provide for the family of 8. I also commit to working for District 86 by establishing relationships with our representatives to get the job done at hand. I commit to my community that they have someone advocating for them. I will work hard to establish great relationship with our legislators to ensure that communities are not being neglected. Although I'm not currently in office, I am accessible to my community and have worked with them on many issues. I employ teams and would love to continue. Once elected again, I promise to continue to conduct myself in an ethical and transparent manner. I will continue to obey Georgia's transparency regulations regarding legislators fully disclosing any contributions, expenditures, and vote history. I would never vote to weaken those laws. So vote for Jacqueline Adams. You already know the early voting starts Monday, June 13th. Runoff is June 21st. And again, I humbly ask for your vote. I want you to be my employee. Thank you so much, and may I have your vote.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. I want to thank both of the candidates, Jacqueline Adams and Imani Barnes, for a very robust forum and answer to the questions. It's obvious that these ladies are very open and honest, and they're going to give you exactly what you asked for. And I think you folks in HD 86 have some very viable choices. As Ms. Adams has already said, early voting starts on the 13th and the primary election is on June 21st. So ladies, thank you again for your participation in our forum, and you have a blessed rest of the day, and good luck to both of you.
Thank you so much. It was great, Mr. Hammond.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to proceed on to our next portion of this House District Forum. We're going to now have a forum with the candidates for HD 90. And those representatives are Saria Draper and Michelle Scribner. And ladies, are you there?
I'm here. This is Syra.
Syra. Okay, I'm with Syra Draper and Michelle. Can you?
Yeah, I'll help you out. This is my husband's name, so bear with me. It's Schreiner.
Schreiner. I got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Michelle Schreiner. These two ladies are running for House District 90, and it is a pleasure to have you here this evening. And as you've heard from the last forum, the ground rules for this forum are you both will have 90 seconds for an opening statement, 90 seconds to answer each one of the questions, and you'll have 90 seconds for a closing statement. And before we get into the questions, I'm going to just give you again, so everybody knows what this job is all about. As a state representative, you're part of the Georgia government, which, like the federal government, has 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. Once you're elected, each state representative, your many duties are to create and vote on bills that make new laws and modify old ones. So you guys got that, right? Okay. Just want to make sure everybody know what they're running for. Okay. First question. What makes you, and we're going to start with you, Ms. Schreiner, Michelle, what makes you the best choice for House District 90? And what differentiates you from your opponent?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm really excited to join y'all today. As Lance said, my name is Dr. Michelle Schreiner. And when I think about this position, it's not just about a job. It's really about stepping into a deeper purpose. And that is really focused on the community. Growing up, it wasn't really easy for me. I was the child that needed things like the free school lunch program. My family, we were on food stamps. So I do know what it's like to struggle. And I also know what it's like to have a community, a strong community. And that includes the government, having government programs to help make sure that people don't fall through the cracks. I know that through my lived experience. And I also know that through my career as a psychologist, working for people, understanding what people's needs are, and serving people. And so with respect to what sets me apart, if you would have me, I would literally be the only psychologist at the Capitol fighting for things like mental health care. As a former professor, I was teaching for 10 years students how to think critically with respect to statistics, research methods, classes they didn't want to take, but were very fundamental in being able to discern fact from fiction, being able to know how to critically evaluate information. So those are the types of skills that I will bring with me to the Capitol to fight for not just healthcare, not just education, but a long list of issues that our neighbors have shared with me over the course of this campaign. When you can look at healthcare and education, for example, that makes up over 70% of the state budget. So to bring that perspective to the Capitol, I think is a value add, because that budget includes a list of our priorities, our values, and it has to reflect what we care about in the community. And so that's what I'm about with respect to what I'm bringing to the table. Not just a lot of brains, but a lot of heart too, making sure that our community members are listened to, understanding what those issues are, and then fighting for that with the community at the Capitol.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're going to do this. I skipped over a section here. So you're supposed to have an opening statement.
Uh-oh.
So Saria, I'm going to let you answer that question, and then we're going to do those opening statements because that's important, right? Okay, Saria, what differentiates you from your opponent? You're on mute.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, so, okay, the question, what differentiates me from my opponent? I love that question because oftentimes when you're in a Democratic primary, especially, there's not that much that separates us in terms of our positions on issues. And I do think my opponent and I are similar in many ways. We're both women of color, we're both moms, we're both former professors, and we even look really similar. I'm sure you've got that on the campaign trail too, Michelle. But there are differences, and I want to point out, I think, what I consider some of the more important ones. So one, I have an expertise in elections and voting rights that I think it's just something that's critically needed right now. Our right to vote is under attack. There's no doubt about that. And I have been front and center for the last 3 years when it comes to those issues. So I think the need for my experience is even greater right now because people who have been the strongest defenders of our democracy in the legislature, like Representative Wynn, Representative Shannon, Senator Jordan, those folks are leaving the legislature. So there is a gap right now, and I feel like I am uniquely qualified to fill that gap.
Thank you.
Difference number two, I have a track record for getting really hard things done and delivering results. The programs that I built when I ran the voter protection program at the Democratic Party were highly complex. We were constantly adapting to changes in laws and circumstances and the pandemic. Nevertheless, we were able to help hundreds of thousands of voters. Our ballot curing program alone helped cure over 15,000 ballots. Of course, the Biden margin of victory was 12,000. So I ran these programs in 159 counties, some of which were blue, most of which were red. We figured out how to work in those environments so that we could still help voters. And I think my problem solving abilities and ability to work with the other side, that is something that is tried and tested. And I am ready to take that to the legislature.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now that we're on an even ground now, Michelle, what about your opening statement? I know you got one prepared. Let's hear that opening statement.
Okay, great. So my name is Dr. Michelle Schreiner. I am a psychologist. I am a married mom of twins. And for many years now, I've been serving as an advocate at the Capitol, fighting for Georgians who work hard, but struggle to make ends meet. Now, I lived most of my life in Georgia. I consider myself a Georgia peach, even though no one believes me. And that's because I was born in Puerto Rico, but I've lived most of my life here. And I am a product of the public school system, all the way from elementary school through graduate school. And giving back to the community has always been a part of who I am. And I take that very deeply, very passionately, because that's what got me to where I am today. So the first 10 years of my career, I was a professor. As I said earlier, I taught statistics and research methods, and teaching how students how to learn how to think critically. I'm a published researcher, so I know how to write technical reports, and I know how to discern fact from fiction as well. I have served as the board chair of Athena's Warehouse. That's a local grassroots nonprofit that was founded by my friend B. Wynn many years ago. And so we were giving back to girls who look just like me, girls who were underserved, under-resourced in the community, who deserve a chance. Again, I get that because I've lived that as well. And so for years now, I've been in the community fighting for things like affordable housing, fighting for things like economic opportunities. And I do that because we live in a city that's one of the greatest cities that have produced income inequality in this whole country. And so I know that people are struggling. I get that. I struggle too. Now, I was the first candidate to raise my hand in an act of service. And we all know that the first step to leading is to listen and to learn. And that's why I thought it was so important for me to immediately declare my candidacy in terms of representing our community. And I did that back in December. And so since then, I've knocked on over 10,000 doors, wanting to meet people exactly where they're at, trying to understand what really matters to you so that I can bring that on, not just on my own shoulders, but to ask that you come with me and we do it together. Because there's no way that a single individual is going to solve all these complex, gnarly issues. So I got to tell you that the first couple of months, I actually spent that time mostly on voter education, because most people didn't know how the redistricted maps were affecting them. And so I had to share with them how the change in the maps really changed who they can even vote for in this district.
Sounds good. Ms. Draper, your opening statement.
Okay. Hi, my name is Syra Draper. So I'm really grateful to the DeKalb Dems for giving us this opportunity. And I'm very thankful for the voters of House District 90 who have come here today to learn more about this race. So I am running for office because service to others and to our community is inherent to who I am. I have been working for the greater good my entire career, and I have never shied away from making personal sacrifices if it means that I can help others, and especially if it means that I can be a voice for those who cannot speak for themselves. So when I graduated from college, I joined the Peace Corps in Honduras, where I helped women in rural villages start small businesses. When I was in law school, I taught English to the custodial staff on campus. As a resident of House District 90, I fought for a year and a half with the city of Atlanta for a four-way stop at an intersection that was a known danger to bicyclists and pedestrians. As a civil rights lawyer at the Southern Poverty Law Center, I represented children and parents who were torn apart under the Trump administration's cruel family separation policies. And as the voter protection director at the Democratic Party of Georgia, I designed, built, and ran a program that leveraged the power of 12,000 volunteers to help hundreds of thousands of Georgians vote. So yes, service to others and to my community is inherent to who I am, and I view this role as an opportunity to continue to serve the greater good.
Thank you, Ms. Draper. Here we go with some more questions. How about this one? On the campaign trail, and this is to you, Dr. Schreiner, on the campaign trail, what are the two top issues that voters have identified to you, and how have you incorporated those issues into your campaign?
We're about to have some real life here. I've got twins that have just busted through the office, so please bear with me. I'm going to hang with you because I know time is of importance. Give me one moment, please. So education has certainly come up as a critical issue here in our district. We do live in a diverse district, and that said, education has come up time and time again, regardless of where I've been knocking. People are feeling trapped, quite frankly, and by their zip code, feeling as if, not feeling, but just knowing that they're being left behind. I met a young gentleman, Clarence, weeks ago, who told me that his kids are old enough to go to the same high school that he went to in Cedar Grove. And guess what? They're using the same books that he had back in the day. I met another woman who shared with me, she said the schools have gotten to a point where now she is homeschooling her children in South DeKalb. So we've got significant issues. And as a former professor, I understand that because I used to teach during the No Child Left Behind days. I know the importance of education and the lack thereof. So that's one issue that has crept up. The other has to do with voting and ensuring that our right to vote is preserved. There's no question as Democrats that this is important. And it's something I take personally because back in 2019, there was an effort to disenfranchise Puerto Ricans who live here in Georgia from being able to get a driver's license, which that's what I used when I vote. And it was effectively a literacy test that myself and other advocates were able to dismantle back in 2019. So you don't have to look too far to know that disenfranchisement is real, and it's pervasive, and it's still going on today. And I've been a champion fighting on the front lines, making sure that our voices are heard. And as a Democrat, I would continue that fight at the Capitol. So this is not unique to my opponent. This is something that's near and dear to my heart as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Draper, your response to that question on the campaign trail, what are the top 2 issues that the voters have identified to you, and how have you incorporated those into your campaign?
Yes. So I have knocked on thousands of doors throughout our district, and I have spoken with voters from Ellenwood to Lake Claire and everywhere in between. And as part of each conversation that I have with voters, I always ask them, what issues are most important to you? And the reason that I ask that question is because I take the title of representative very seriously. If I'm so lucky to be elected to this position, it will be my job to represent the priorities of the people of House District 90, and the priorities of the community will be the priorities that I fight for. So to answer your question, the top issues that voters have identified to me are voting rights and safety, and affordable housing takes a really close third. So I think when it comes to voting rights and preserving our democracy more generally, it's top of mind for our voters because it's foundational. You know, if we can't elect people who share our values, that's a massive impediment to getting the kinds of policy changes that we want to see. And when it comes to gun safety, gun safety legislation is top of mind, especially recently. Republican elected officials are totally out of step with Georgians when it comes to gun safety regulation. They're out of step with both Democrats and Republicans when it comes to this issue. And yet, Republican leadership told the AJC last week that they had no intention of changing our gun laws. So I see an opportunity here to build a coalition that will fight for changes the majority of Georgians want to see. It's not just a moral imperative, it is a life or death issue that is very much felt by the people of House District 90.
Thank you. Thank you for those answers. I'm just listening at all the doors you guys have knocked on. So your knuckles must be really, really sore, right?
Lost some weight, Lance.
I hear you. I hear you. Next question, and we asked this in the last section, so I'll ask it here. There is a significant cityhood movement in unincorporated DeKalb and really across the metro area. Tell us what are your thoughts and positions on communities that are unincorporated becoming cities? We'll start with you, Ms. Draper.
Look, the track record for new cities in Georgia is not great. New cities have been used to exclude certain people from a community, or they've been used to prevent mixed income housing from being developed in those places. I obviously don't support those things. And many voters don't either, as evidenced by the rejection of multiple cityhood proposals just in May during the primary. I think that any proposal for a new layer of government needs to be very carefully studied. We need to understand the impact of municipal finances and how the day-to-day experiences will change for the new city residents, as well as the residents who would be left behind if there's a new city. So all of that being said, I think that government at all levels can do a much better job at being responsive to the needs of their citizens. And I do think that at base, the DeKalb cityhood movement is a movement, it's a demand for a more responsive and attentive government. So if I am elected, I intend to be a very responsive representative, and I will work in coordination with our DeKalb delegation at all levels to show up for everyone in DeKalb County, including those people who support a city of DeKalb.
Okay. Dr. Schreiner?
Yep, thank you for the question. In short, I'm not in favor of creating a city of DeKalb. I've met with many of our neighbors, and the issues that they have shared with me pertaining to public school education, infrastructure, affordable housing, public safety, and yes, even environmental racism and pollution. We've got a long list of issues there that are not actually reflected in this proposal. However, I feel the frustration from those who are part of that movement, feeling as if their voices aren't being heard. I know that there's a lot of neighbors that have expressed, reached the county, wanting things to be changed, wanting changes to be made, and feeling as if no one's really responding to them. So I get that frustration. My concern here is that, do we have the proper infrastructure to make these changes? Is there a change management plan for this to happen? Does adding another layer of government actually solve these issues? And based on the feasibility study that's 7 years old, I'm not at a place yet where we've got compelling evidence to say this is the path forward. But I understand the frustration that I've heard from others. I am here not only to listen, but to take on the fight to say, okay, well, how can we be more responsive? How can we be more accessible? Why is there a bridge that's been closed for 3 years? Why are the roads the way they are? This is not acceptable, certainly not in South DeKalb, and certainly not in North DeKalb either. So there's an issue of equity here. And so I'm listening, I understand the frustration, and I'm open to finding ways to resolve those issues prior to making a drastic decision to move to cityhood.
Gotcha. Thank you. Here's a question that I think is unique, is really important in HD 90, and that's affordable housing. What creative thoughts and ideas do you have on resolving or addressing affordable housing? And Michelle, we'll start, Dr. Schreiner, we'll start with you on this question.
Yeah, thank you for the question. It really is a fundamental issue affecting so many people, seniors, young people, everyone in between. I've met with Ms. Smith, who lives in East Atlanta. She's on a fixed income, she's on Social Security, and she shared with me that her property taxes doubled in a year, and that she's saving what she can to pay for that. But she said, Michelle, if it doubles again, I can't save for next year. And she showed me, she said, I live in a 1,000 square foot house, and all around me, we've got new construction, and that's why my taxes have doubled. And part of the reason why her taxes have increased so dramatically is because she's still paying for school taxes. So in the city of Atlanta, she's not exempt from that. So what are we doing to help our seniors? Are we providing exemptions? And then who actually has the money? We've got corporations who have a lot of money, and we give them tax breaks and incentives. So I think we've got to flip the script here. I think we've got to enforce that our corporations be on the hook to invest in our communities, as opposed to getting tax abatements, as opposed to squeezing people to no end. What do you want? You want the rest of us in a tent here? So I'm very fired up and passionate about protecting our seniors and young ones. My sister lives here, and she can't afford a down payment to purchase a house. So I'm looking at things that would afford families like mine who don't have generational wealth to have down payment assistance, for example. And there's other things that I believe are on the table. The reality too is we've got to work with Republicans. So rent control might be off the table for them. So I'm not here to promise things that just aren't practical. I've got to be pragmatic as well. But there's a sense of urgency, and there's a sense to act now, because things have increased and gotten out of control.
Thank you. Ms. Draper.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiment that this is a huge problem and there's an urgency now, right? And so many of these policy solutions that we're proposing are just solutions that are not going to happen right now because Republicans are in the majority in the legislature, right? So their priorities, their agenda is what gets passed. It's not Democrats, it's not Democrats' agenda. And, I think because of that, we need to be working in two tracks. One track is changing the power of who's in charge in the legislature, right? We need to make sure that Democrats get in control of the legislature, get more leverage, either through one chamber, both chambers, governor's house, whatever it is, so that we have some leverage in these conversations and we are able to bring our agenda forward. And there's actually some sense that our agenda will be considered. Right now, we have no leverage. So we have to change that over the long term. But the long term doesn't help the people who are struggling now, right? So many of the solutions that we do have may not be at the state level, but we do have options at the federal level, right? With government assistance, we do have local and county level assistance as well. We also have assistance that is outside of government, nonprofits and with our churches. I have seen several churches at this point who are putting aside land where they want to build their own new senior housing. They will provide that to a discounted or either fully or partially subsidized rate to the members of their community. We have seen that happen. There are residences like this that already exist, and we have seen plans to build this in the near future. And so I think it is so important that we address the needs of now while also planning for the future and what is coming. I will say one other issue that is tangential to this is just the predatory investment that's coming from the outside. We are seeing so many investors that are not from Georgia, not putting people in how, they're not putting their own people here. They're putting people who don't want to stay long term, and they are scooping up houses throughout House District 90. But it is happening at an outsized rate, in the south of the district. So the predatory investment is happening in the north of the district, but it is happening way more in the south of the district, where house values are shockingly undervalued. So that is something we have to defend against as well in all of this, and something that I intend to fight against. Okay,
very good. Thank you for your answers, ladies. Very good answers. So now it's time for those closing statements. And we will start with you, Mrs. Draper. You get the first shot at that closing statement. Close it out and put that one seed on the voter's mind.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. I've enjoyed myself very much. And I'll just end with a short anecdote that I think illustrates why an expertise in voting rights is so critical right now, and also illustrates, my ability to get things done. Automatic voter registration was something that was quietly turned off in Georgia. That happened in 2021. And why is that a problem? It's because most people register through automatic voter registration. And when automatic voter registration got turned off in Georgia, we saw a huge decline in the number of registrations in Georgia. So that is something that I saw. And there were other people that saw it too. But the Secretary of State and the Department of Driver Services were giving us excuses. They said to Fulton County, well, you're the only county affected by this. And they told other folks that this was just regular voter behavior. So it was through my background and experience that I was able to, just basically say those excuses were not credible. And I went to work. I conducted my own investigation where we got evidence from each of the counties. We got evidence from the Department of Driver Services and from the Secretary of State's office. And we put together enough evidence to show that it was highly likely that automatic voter registration had gotten turned off in Georgia very quietly. There had been this huge policy change and they hadn't let anybody know. And we took that information to the AJC. They ran an article on it, exposing it. And within a week of that issue being exposed, automatic voter registration in Georgia was turned back on. In the first month that automatic voter registration was turned back on, there were an additional 60,000 voter registrations in Georgia, right? That's in 1 month. So you can see how identifying an issue like this and resolving an issue like this has a huge impact on our registrations and ultimately our elections here in Georgia. So that is something that I do, that I can bring to the table, and that I think, again, is just so needed right now when our voting rights are under attack. I am thrilled to have the endorsement of my campaign of the folks that I have been working with in the trenches for the last several years, and many of our DeKalb leaders, including but not limited to District Attorney Sherry Boston, Senator Elena Parent, Commissioner Larry Johnson, Commissioner Steve Bradshaw, Representative Mary Margaret Oliver, and others. These are folks who, again, I worked with, they know my work, and I'm just, thrilled to have their support. So to the residents of House District 90, I have relished serving you in my role of voter protection, and it would be the honor of my life to continue to serve you as your next House District Representative.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Schreiner, your closing statement.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a place of deep gratitude and privilege to be able to run as your next representative for House District 90. I have learned so much from the people, and those who have asked have wondered, well, Michelle, what's your platform? And it's really simple. It's really about putting people first. I understand that as a psychologist. I understand that as someone who needed my village to help me overcome a number of obstacles growing up. I was not the kid that born with a silver spoon in my hand. I needed the help from my teachers. I needed the help from my church. And yes, from the government. All that to say is when you put that together, you can help a kid like me overcome those obstacles. And when I see now that so many families are struggling, things are harder now than they were growing up. And we're fighting for the basics right now. We're fighting for food access. We've got residents who have to go tomorrow to get food, up north to get food. We don't have dine-in restaurants. We don't have good quality schools. We've got roads falling apart, a bridge that's been broken down. It's a real struggle. We've got, again, people on fixed incomes who've invested in our community, and yet their pension's only $300 a month. How do you get by with that? It's a real struggle. I know that struggle because I lived it, and I know when you have those investments, you can overcome that struggle. So all I want is to fight for people so that they have a chance. That's all people are asking for. Give me a chance to be successful. Give me a chance to have a better education, a chance to get a better job and security. I get that. I lived it. I know that. And not just living it, but as a psychologist, I literally would be the only one at the Capitol to fight for our mental health care. We are, depending on the source, we're either 48th or 50th in this country when it comes to providing access to mental health care. People are struggling and they need the help now. So we have a long list of issues to fight for. I wish it were just one, but I am not a single issue candidate. I am the listener here, the workhorse, ready to do the work at the Capitol. I've been at the Capitol as an advocate. This is really just an extension of that work as your next state representative. And I thank you for the opportunity to share, and I'd be honored to earn your vote.
Thank you, ladies. I must say that House District 90, you are very blessed to have two great candidates vying for your vote. Again, just like to let everyone know, the early voting starts on June 13th and the primary is on June 21st. So again, thank you, ladies. Good luck to both of you. And Gloria, at this time, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Lance. And thank you to our candidates. And I hope that everyone has, I see that people who started with us at 5 o'clock are still here. So I know for me, this has been educational, informational, and certainly inspirational. Because again, as Lance said, we've got some great candidates running for office. These are Democrats, and we support Democrats. We know that by giving them a platform, you get a chance as voters to make really good decisions. You have some difficult decisions to make, but that's actually good news. So again, thank you everyone for being here, our audience, Lance and Karen for being our moderators, and to all of our candidates, and especially want to thank those folks who are really our support team. If you want to turn on your video, we'd love to thank you too, because we absolutely could not do this without their support and their dedication and commitment to making this happen. So thank you, everyone. And just know that this video will be available or is available on Facebook at DeKalb Dems, and also on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and on Twitter. Good evening. Okay. Thank you so much. Night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.